guys, twins are napping, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to kind of go through what my pregnancy with them was like for anyone who's curious or for moms who are expecting twins themselves. So when I found out that I was pregnant, not once did the thought of twins cross my mind. This being my first pregnancy, I didn't really have anything to compare it against. So when people would ask me if I was sicker during the pregnancy, I don't think I ever was any more sicker than the average woman who's pregnant with just a single baby. I never really got that full-on morning sickness. I did have a lot of nausea in the beginning, and I basically lived off of crackers and ginger ale. I didn't have much of an appetite. At 7 or 8 weeks, I did have to venture to the maternity store to buy some pants, as my regular pairs weren't fitting too well. I honestly thought it was because I had gained a bit more weight before I had gotten pregnant, or before I knew I was actually pregnant. I didn't think that it was because I was starting to show earlier or was bigger because of twins. So when my dating ultrasound came around at 9 weeks, my only thought was, show me a baby with a strong heartbeat. I didn't think, oh, there would be 2 babies in there. So that's the beginning. The first dating ultrasound, they did find out it was identical twins. The boys are what they call monochorionic diamniotic. So they shared a placenta, but they were in 2 separate amniotic sacs. The thing with the boys sharing a placenta, there was a risk of something called twin transfusion syndrome. That's when one baby gets more oxygen, blood, or nutrients than the other baby, and there's a major difference in the size, and then of course that affects the health of the other baby who's not getting as much of the nutrients. So the scary thing with that is, if that does occur, in Canada, the only place that can fix this sort of issue with identical twins is to have a laser surgery performed, and the only place that offers that in Canada is Toronto. So luckily for us, that didn't happen, but they had to monitor me every 2 weeks from that date on. So every 2 weeks we had to have an ultrasound to make sure that there wasn't any twin transfusion syndrome happening. Even though the twins were different, in a little bit of a difference in size and growth, as long as it wasn't too much to cause an issue, then the twin transfusion syndrome wasn't a major concern. At 18 or 19 weeks, where they measured everything for both the babies, we also had to have echoes done, because with twins there were higher chances of heart defects. But we went to that appointment, and everything measured well and according to what it should have been. But at the end of the appointment, the technician came in saying they wanted one of their colleagues to practice doing a 3D ultrasound. So they brought me into another room with the 3D ultrasound machine, and the technician was taking pictures with the radiologist by her side. And I wasn't too concerned, because they said that everything seemed to be measuring normal. But with that 3D ultrasound, it showed us that twin A had a right aortic arch. Mr. Kingsley woke up, so he's going to have to film this part with me. So at the 3D ultrasound, they saw the picture where this guy had a right aortic arch. Yeah, baby. So basically, your aorta is supposed to grow from the left side of your heart, but his goes on the right side, and what happens is it can form a ring around your esophagus and trachea. which can cause issues with eating or swallowing. That was our first real kind of scare for us and the health of the babies. He's not cooperating with me, you guys. Okay, we're gonna have to continue a bit later because I also hear Soren crying. You never get a moment to yourself anymore. Those moments are very, very scarce when you're a parent. So we'll have to continue my pregnancy journey later on. I'm never gonna get this portion filmed properly on what my pregnancy with the boys was like. So I'm just gonna go ahead and film this here while they play over here. So you're gonna hear a lot of sounds, lots of background noise, but this is the best I can do. So twin pregnancy, weight gain, a lot. I'm only 5 feet tall, pretty petite. I'm not the thinnest person, but pretty petite at 5 feet tall. Beginning of the pregnancy, I was maybe a little over 100 pounds, 110 pounds. At the end of my pregnancy, even though I didn't carry to full term, I was at 180 pounds. So that's a pretty big weight difference, and it definitely took a toll on my body. Everything was swollen. I now have stretch marks everywhere. So 1.5 years postpartum, I'm pretty much back to my original weight pre-pregnancy. Guys, back to my original weight pre-pregnancy, so it took a while. I probably didn't lose the weight in the healthiest way. A lot of it was because I was caring for the boys, being the primary caregiver. I didn't have a lot of time for myself. No time to shower, hardly any time to eat, which also affected my milk supply and breastfeeding. So I only... Oh, you guys. Are you stuck, baby? Okay, mommy lay. Real life. Okay, mommy lay. Okay, I'm coming for you. Oh, mommy's coming for you. Oh, okay, mommy's coming for you. Okay, so that's that. I also developed high blood pressure. That wasn't good, so I had to be on medicine. The extra monitoring because they did share a placenta and they had a risk of twin transfusion syndrome. So after 12 weeks, we had to go for ultrasounds every 2 weeks. That kept us very, very busy. They're both trying to climb on top of me here. That kept us very busy. And then when we discovered Mr. Kingsley here had a right aortic arch, we did go through with genetic testing. We did an amniocentesis. Amniocentesis is something you don't think lightly upon, but for our family, we had to know exactly what we were dealing with. So we decided to do genetic testing because with his heart defect, there is a chance of genetic disorders, in particular, something called 22q deletion syndrome. So we did the amniocentesis. It was painful, and they had to poke me twice because they're both in different amniotic sacs, of course. So they both had to provide samples of the amniotic fluid to do the testing. So 5 weeks later, we got the results back. Everything was in the clear, so that was a big weight lifted from us. But not too long after, at our 26 weeks ultrasound, because of the doctors finding extra fluid in Soren's tummy, and they weren't really sure at the time what it was from. And I was actually hospitalized right after that appointment so they could monitor Soren for the next couple of days to make sure nothing changed. Because if it did, then it was a bad thing and the babies would have had to come right away. Fortunately for us, it didn't. Oh, baby. But I was sent home. And then from there, I had to have ultrasounds every week because of Soren's condition, and we had to monitor it. Our end goal from the doctors was to hold the babies in until 34 weeks, so we got pretty close to that because they were delivered again 33 weeks and 5 days. When I was in the hospital there, they did give me the steroid shots to help with the baby's lungs in case they did have to come out at the time. But they didn't. And then we were sent home, and then we were being monitored with nurses coming to visit us at home every day. We would have to do the non-stress test, NST, for the babies, where we monitor their heart rates for an hour, and then we would do kick counts. Each baby had to do 6 kicks an hour, and if the babies, for some reason, they failed the tests, which did happen to us more than once, the nurses would send us to the hospital. The very first time when the nurse told me that we had to go in, she definitely didn't want to scare me, but I just broke down crying because it was really scary for me. And she actually called the ambulance for me. Because we could have driven in ourselves, but she wanted to rush in because baby B, Soren, his heart rate had decelerated and he took a while to recover, which isn't a good thing. So that's why they sent us in the first time. So yeah, we were being monitored by nurses every day, and then we would go through what my plan was, what doctors I would be seeing, and when I would have ultrasounds. So every week, that was a pretty busy time, really stressful, because I was, in the 3rd trimester then. So it was really big, everything's swollen, everything's hard to move, no energy for anything, and it was a hot summer. It was really hot. And then finally, when I was admitted, when the babies were born, we weren't really sure what was happening, because actually I'd gone in for 32-week ultrasound, and the doctors were finding more concerns surrounding Soren. Blood flow was being decreased, and the oxygen levels were also being decreased for Soren. So at that ultrasound, the doctor actually told me that it was a real possibility that we would be seeing the babies the next week. She actually wanted me to come back in for an ultrasound on the Monday. We went in on, I think, a Friday or Thursday. She wanted me to come back in on Monday, and if things weren't the same and just something was off, she was going to hospitalize me that day. So actually, and then on that Sunday, when the nurses came to check on me, they had to send me to the hospital, and then pretty much I didn't even make it to that repeat ultrasound, and we had to be hospitalized. And then over the next couple of days, we monitored the baby, and then finally the decision was made from the doctor that babies had to come. We couldn't wait any longer. And because, we were pretty much almost there at 34 weeks, the doctors were comfortable with delivering the babies. It was really tough for us. I'm not gonna lie. Pregnancy is a really frightening thing. And just there's so many factors that you can't control. and then so many thoughts that run through your mind, positive and negative. This crazy life experience, because life is full of, you know, the unexpected, right? Is life full of the unexpected? Life is hard, baby. Life is hard. But this is worth it. This is worth it.